You're listening to the Running Up the Score podcast.
Stanley Cup Finals, tied 1-1. Blues and the Bruins. We haven't really gotten to be able to talk about like everything past the Islanders series, really, because we were very we were heartbroken. But altogether, I think the Bruins are definitely they're definitely a tough team, and that was the one team that we've said from day one. That was the one team that we did not want to play with the Islanders. So, they're just showing the veteran type of play. Tuukka Rask has been unbelievable throughout the whole rest of the playoffs. Overall, Zdeno Chara mainly missed like 5 games or something like that, and they're still, playing the way they were. And then the Blues, I mean, we've been talking about the Blues since day one. Binnington has been unbelievable. And we've been playing Gloria a lot. So I'm hoping that we play Gloria all the way up to the time that the trophy is the Stanley Cup is actually being held up, because God, I can't have the Bruins win a Stanley Cup. With the Red Sox winning the World Series last year, the Patriots just do whatever the hell they want to do, and we can't have Boston win another one. We can't.
Well, at that standpoint, it's basically irrelevant for me. I mean, I think it's Boston obviously has had a lot of success in sports, and you really can't argue it.
No, you can't.
They know what they're doing there. And when it comes to this series overall, though, I've seen the Boston Bruins, and they just play an incredible style of hockey, and so do the St. Louis Blues. Both these teams play an incredible amount of defense. Now, you talk about the Tampa Bay Lightning teams and the Washington Capitals, the Pittsburgh Penguins. These guys could score goals beyond belief. They put the puck in the back of the net at all times when they take on teams that just don't have the defensive caliber. It's one thing I've liked about the New York Islanders all season is the way they were able to play defense. And because look what happens when you play defense in the National Hockey League. Look at the two teams you're staring at right now in the Stanley Cup Finals. Both these teams play defense. The Blues have been playing defense for years. I mean, from before I can even remember. You can thank Pietrangelo for that, and even, Shattenkirk before he went to the New York Rangers. I mean, these guys knew how to play defense. Shattenkirk had a terrible season, so there's no reason to that. I mean, the Ranger fans are going for that because he wasn't able to play that well this year. But the Blues, and it all goes back to the coaching. And you could talk about Binnington just being unbelievable, and he is a great goalie. There's no taking credit from that man right now. But when it comes down to the Blues and the Bruins and what you see, you're seeing the caliber of players that just know how to sit there and stay at home, not cheat. That's how you score goals in the NHL. You'll find a way to cheat, get that breakaway, get that goal, and everyone's happy. But if you get caught cheating in the NHL, you're going to pay for it a lot. And I've seen it so many times. And with these two teams right now, that's what makes this series so great. And they were going back and forth in both games so far. I mean, well, obviously, Boston took care of them in the game. But the second game was just a lot more what we were expecting. And obviously now it goes into the favor of
St.
Louis. And, both these teams are going to play defense. There's no doubt about it. There's really not much analysis to go into this series because I personally can't tell you who's going to win.
Yeah.
I have no idea. That's what makes hockey so great. I've talked about this on my show so many times about how what makes hockey great is that I could tell you who's going to win the NBA Finals. I could tell you who's going to win the World Series on a list of 5 teams, And, for all these leagues, there's 5 teams. I could not name you 5 teams from the National Hockey League. And if I were to tell the average fan to call this show up, even right before the playoffs, about who they thought was going to win the Cup, none of you would have gotten it correct. Nobody thought the Bruins. Nobody thought the Blues. Nobody even thought the Islanders would get past round 1. Nobody thought the Lightning would even get in their way. 90% of the people that told me the Tampa Bay Lightning were going to win it all. And that's understandable to say that. I mean, after the season they had. But it just shows you that hockey is just a different caliber of sport. And of course, these games definitely these series need to be 7 games on the basis of what we saw, all throughout this. And, like I talk about, we're going to transition to the NBA Finals very shortly. And obviously, who's in the NBA Finals again, the Golden State Warriors. I could have told you that 8 months ago. 8 months ago, literally 8. A long time ago, I could have told you they're going to the NBA Finals. And that's what makes the difference right now between, and even in football. I could have told you the New England Patriots, as much as I hate them. They're going to go to the championship. It's not like that in hockey. These two teams are really, they're defensive-minded. They stuck to their systems. They've been unbelievable. So basically what it comes down to is that I can't tell you who's going to win. Do I want the Blues? Of course. I'm from New York. I'm supposed to hate. I'm supposed to hate Boston. I'm a Jet fan. I hate the Patriots.
Well, it's good that the Yankees beat the Red Sox.
But I am a Celtic fan. I don't know where that comes from.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from.
But I always say I'm a Celtic fan. I don't say I'm a Boston Celtic fan. I always say I'm a Celtic fan. I just love the organization. They know how to win. I mean, how can you root for the New York Knicks these days? And I mean, we'll transition to the NBA.
And that killed me that we didn't do a show around then when they had the draft lottery. Oh my God, that would have been amazing.
I felt bad for so many of my friends. I mean, there were people out there that are sitting there going, in the matter of 2 days, the Jets GM's getting fired. The Knicks aren't getting the number 1 overall. It's like, what's happening in the world? What's happening now?
It was so great.
What's going on right now?
So great because everybody was like, oh yeah, we're gonna get Zion. Then we're gonna get Durant. We're gonna get Kyrie. It doesn't even look like we're gonna get anybody now. It's hilarious. It is hilarious. The stuff that happens to the Knicks. But NBA Finals. We've gotten through Game 1. Now we have to wait 3 weeks for Game 2. Because we have like 5 days in between, which is absolutely ridiculous. I don't understand what's the difference. You're in the same city. You're not moving. It's not a travel day. And even in hockey, you only get 1 travel day. So why do we have? I think the first game of the finals was Thursday. Now we got to wait till Sunday for Game 2. They haven't left Toronto yet. I mean, like, seriously. The main thing that I wanted to talk about this, Toronto won, the first game by 9 points, whatever. Warriors is still going to win it, so let's be serious. You had a cool stat that you wanted to say on the air. Flip it out.
I'm sorry?
With the Toronto Raptors.
Oh, yeah. It's funny. You put me on the spot there. I'm like, what stat is this? No, it's just incredible to watch that the Toronto Raptors, they're one of the first teams, they are the first team to ever make the NBA Finals without a single lottery pick on their roster, which is pretty incredible. And it just shows that, if you can get the right draft picks in the NBA, and get the right players at the right time. Obviously, Kawhi Leonard, was a great steal for the Spurs years back, and he has been one hell of a player. I mean, what I've seen him doing, and people comparing him to Jordan, everyone wants to laugh at that, but I'm telling you, this man has been unbelievable, even though I did watch the game the other night. And the problem with the NBA has always been inconsistency between the referee, and obviously Toronto won Game 1, but it was clearly a referee favorite towards Toronto in that game, and there was just no doubt. I mean, I watched a couple minutes. I didn't even watch a full game, so I can't even give you a full, complete 100% on that. But I watched like a good segment of about 5 minutes, and I watched Kawhi Leonard spin right into Steph Curry, and Steph Curry did not move. He was squared to the basket, outside the circle, and it was a clear offensive foul. And they just didn't call it. They gave him an N1, which is a big play. We're talking 0 points to 3 because Kawhi Leonard is a very good free throw shooter. Nailed the 3-point play, got the extra free throw, everything. But it was an offensive foul. I mean, I've been watching basketball for a very long time, and then I watched the ball go right down the court, and I think it was Draymond Green had drive the lane, and Kyle Lowry stepped in, and that was an offensive foul too. But I watched the same exact thing happen, and you didn't give the call to Draymond Green, but you gave the call to Kawhi Leonard. And I understand he's a talent. I know how the NBA works. Okay, they don't want their talented players to be fouling out because there goes the ratings, and that's how the world works now. And I understand that. But that was a big problem in Game 1. It's a big reason why the Toronto Raptors won. Because just from watching 5 minutes of the game, I mean, I watched more than 5 minutes. I watched the good 3 quarters of that game. But if people understand what I'm talking about here, it was in the matter of a 2-minute part of I think it might have been the second quarter or the third quarter, and I just watched 2 offensive fouls occur, which is credit to the defense. That's amazing. We just talked about in hockey how important defense is, and both players, Steph Curry and Kyle Lowry, did a great job at risking their body and taking the contact. But you cannot sit there and give the credit to one player and not the other. I didn't watch either player move. Now, I understand a block, and I know that's very hard for a referee to manage, a block and an offensive foul. But you're supposed to call a block if a guy is still moving when he's trying to get position, to almost cut in front of somebody. So when I don't see either player moving and they got squarely hit, you need to be consistent with the refereeing, and that's been a big issue in the NBA, going all the way back to that that garbage between that referee that was gambling on games and everything else. And it's a very tough sport to referee. There's no doubt. At one point, I'm hoping to do it myself. But it is a very difficult sport to referee, and I'm never going to critique it on the basis of that. I know players and fans can't really, or fans can do it all they want, but players and coaches and everything cannot talk about the refereeing. And but just from what I saw in a short segment, I mean, you got to be consistent. If a player is going to do something that is correct, you need to give them the call for it. I could not believe the offensive foul that was just not called on Kawhi Leonard, and I understand Kawhi Leonard's a great player. He really is almost like Jordan. Great defender. I'm not going to give anything away from Kawhi Leonard. Great three-point shooter. Great defender. People forget about defense in the NBA with all these high-scoring games these days and all these big-time three-point shooters and Steph Curry being able to drive the lane and do a floater because, God forbid, he gets fouled too hard, and it's a big problem. And even Draymond Green has come out and said about his own kid, telling him not to watch the NBA because of flopping and, just the way the NBA has turned. And it isn't for the positive. I don't care what anyone says. You could sit there and say that the NBA is better than ever. It really isn't. I could have told you months back who was going to make the NBA Finals. Toronto, a little bit of a shocker. I really thought Milwaukee was going to take that series. So, especially with Toronto not having a single lottery pick, it really is exciting on that standpoint. Toronto's got their first NBA Finals win ever, which is also very exciting. But, again, I'll come back on the show if Toronto wins the NBA Finals, and I'll put my foot in my mouth. But there's no doubt in my mind that the Golden State Warriors will win the series. I mean, and that's what NBA has turned into.
You've been listening to the Running Up the Score podcast. For more Running Up the Score, go follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at RUTS Sports.